What's up, Scribe Squad? It's another day, it's another dollar, and it's time for another freaking interview. And this time, you know what I'm saying, we are rocking with somebody who's got, you know what I'm saying, some crazy bars, crazy swag. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Tell the people your name, tell the people where you're from.
How you doing? My name is Good Luck, formerly known as Bad Luck, the artist. And yeah, I'm from Watts, California, Los Angeles area. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. Honored to be a part of the show. Honored to be doing the interview with you today. And yeah, let's get it going.
I appreciate you for joining us. So let's just, start off top. Why did you have the name switch? What changed your mind to switch your name?
So I think growth, for the most part. I've taken that name on. When I started rapping, I took that name on kind of like a battle thing. You know what I mean? But, as I get older and get wiser and, gain more knowledge, it's kind of a thing where that name always didn't sit right with me outside of rap. So I was that as a rapper, but if I would introduce myself to a young lady or a mother or a parent, I never say Bad Luck. Even with my friends that introduced me as that, I will always cut them off and I'll tell them my real name. My real name is Terrence. Mm-hmm. So I would always introduce myself as Terrence or Lucky, because Bad Luck it just sounded dark. So outside of rap, I wasn't who that was. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That whatever the rapper was, the character of who Bad Luck was. So as I got older and kind of started pushing, not necessarily away from rap, but away from being a music artist so much, it was time for me I understood that words mean things, and I didn't want to necessarily put that on me anymore. So it was time for a change.
Gotcha. Yeah. Gotcha. I like that. Positivity, moving forward, and growth. I am all good for that. So, at what age did you fall in love with music?
Maybe around 10, 11. My sister, she was a rapper, and I used to listen to her in LA. If you from LA, you remember back in the days, the original 1580K day, my sister would be on the radio like every other week. You know what I mean? She had a crew, her and her homegirls, rappers, and they was just living hip hop as like young girls in the 80s. And she knew a lot of people, and she would be on the radio, and I used to listen to her. And then she wrote my first rap for me and my brother. I was 10 years old. And I remember it's something that I always wondered if I could do, but I just, at the time, I didn't try it. And shortly after that, I started writing poetry. And so it was just a natural transition to go into music later on after that. But I remember early on, I remember around 10 or 11, I really fell in love with hip hop, I would say.
Okay. So let's talk about growing up in Watts. My dad, he grew up in Compton area, so I'm familiar with it. For people who live all around the world, tell them about the Watts area. What was it like growing up in Watts, and how did that influence your music?
Watts has so much history. Watts, I was considered was like the Black Renaissance at one point. And what I mean by that was like Central Avenue that runs through Watts was like where you would go to go to the club scene or the bar scene or nightlife back in the 60s and 70s. And back in the 60s for me, more so did the 70s, and then going to the 80s when gangbanging happened, it kind of trickled down and burned out. But that's where you would go when you as a young kid in the 60s or a young teen or a young adult in the 60s, you would get suited and booted, and you would go on Central Avenue and go to these different clubs and the nightlife. It was Black excellence. Everybody was getting along. It was just a beautiful thing. So Watts always had a lot of history with just Black beauty anyway. You know what I mean? But I came up under the gang side of Watts. And what I mean by that was the time frame, not myself, but the time frame. Coming up in Watts, I was born in 79. So as a young kid, late 80s and 90s, growing up in Watts, it was typical street hood area. You know what I mean? It was beautiful because Watts felt like it was its own little world inside of the bigger LA. But it was beautiful. Like a lot of super dope people came from Watts. So it was still like that. You still had the real Black undertones of like deep history there. And the riots and everything kicked off. So it was a lot of just like Blackness. And I think it was real dope coming up and knowing that I was tied to that early on. And growing out of that, it was I left Watts pretty late on my life, like in my 30s in my life. But it was a beautiful place, despite the, you know, gangs and drugs and things of that nature. It was still a beautiful place because it was, the undertone was still real black.
Gotcha. I think that's dope. I think a lot of times we get lost in some of the bigger stories that we know about Compton or Watts area about being violence, and we forget about, you know, just the culture and the positivity that's still surrounded by that community. And so I think it's really cool that you shed a light on that. So you talked about being a battle rapper. For me, as a rapper myself, I always felt like it's almost like two different worlds, right? Like battle rap is kind of like its own entity, and then of course I know battle rappers who are also, you know, artists and rappers itself. So like, how do you feel about the split between the two different worlds? And do you have a preference between the battle rap world or being an artist?
So when I was coming up, when I started rapping in '95.
Okay.
So coming up in the '90s, there was no separate.
Okay.
There was no battle rap world and rap world. If you was a rapper and, you know, somebody didn't like you or you didn't like somebody, y'all didn't like each other raps, you just happen, you can battle out on record or you can go somewhere and battle. So it was just a part of it. It was like the gumbo.
Okay.
Right. And so early on, it was more so that, like, I felt like every rapper felt like I was the best. So to prove that, you had to get out. You know what I mean? Everywhere, you know, that's back in the days where LA, we still had super dope, authentic Project Blow, The Good Life, and all them clubs where you could get out that. Rest in peace, Bigger B, who used to throw the Unity jams in different areas. It was just super hip hop, and you could see a battle at any given time. But there was no separate world. That's newer. And when I say newer, I mean like 2000s, mid 2000s, late 2000s on, where battle rap got so big in its own little leg that it was deemed separate, because battle rappers, people that like battle rappers that came up on Smack DVD culture and Cocaine City culture and all them DVD platforms, they were raised in that. So a lot of kids growing up watching battle rap and then just trying to battle. So that's how they got good at that and became some of the dopest dudes who do that. But in the 90s and in the 80s, we were all coming up on doing songs and being dope and then battle somebody if it happened. So there was no separate thing. That's why I think a lot of times why battle rap gets such a bad rap for not being able to make songs, which, you know, I guess I see it. I kind of understand that because these kids grow up wanting to do just battle rap. They don't grow up going into the studio and then trying to do songs and then going to the battle rap arena. A lot of these dudes come on some of the great battle rappers and want to be that and then go after that and become dope and big in that. So when they try to transition and start doing songs, it sounds like somebody who hasn't done songs, or sound like somebody who don't know song structure and can't really put a song together. So I just think that's different now. The only difference is time. In the 90s, 80s back, we were all about everything. It was all together. If you're a rapper, you was a battle rapper, a rapper. Not that you battled, but you were ready for that if it happened. But nowadays, it's just a little different where people go after something specifically. Like a club, somebody who's considered a club rapper, now they try to make songs specifically for that. Hip hop was just hip hop. If you made a jam that hit radio, was big, then it just did that. You know what I mean? Like, that's why you got rappers like, for example, you got Lucc, who were considered some of the grimiest of hip hop, but they got massive, big radio pop records, like a Method Man does. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's
just time frame is different.
So navigating into, you know, now, because I'm a millennial, right? You know, we love our millennials. How have you found the differences? How have you been able to navigate the new industry compared to what it was in the 90s? Like, have you found that you've hit certain roadblocks, or have you found that it's been a positive transition into what the industry is now with streaming and everything?
For myself?
Yeah, for you.
For myself, it's easier for me because I don't play in the industry too much anymore. So I found myself working outside of it. Working outside of it gave me a freedom that I really admire, like I really cherish, that I don't work necessarily in the confinements as an artist of being in the industry and abiding by all the industry rules or whatever that is. You got to make this kind of record or that, or streaming, you got to do this kind of song to stream, or play these little trickery games. Play this game, you know what I mean? Like, you got to play all these games to do all these things. And so what I do is now I'm more so like nurture a couple of artists instead of being the main guy in the front.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I have an artist now. He's a young dude, energetic, talented guy, where he loves to do that. He's falling in love with the music and being dope and getting better. So for me, I'm kind of like, I don't want to necessarily do the artist thing too much no more, but I always have an affinity for rap and that love, and that passion for lyricism. So I always do verses, I always do songs here and there. I still be working. Like I did a couple of verses for a couple of rappers last week, where I just did some work and I let that be what that is. You know what I mean? But for me, it's easier because I'm working on the outside of that. So I can't really speak on being inside, because I'm sure it's different for somebody who was doing it as long as I was doing it. It could be a headache, but if you just accept the game, accept the world as it comes, it could be a beautiful thing.
And I like that. I like that transition from artist to exec, because I think we need more. We need more of that. We need more people
Absolutely.
who were doing it for a long time to be in leadership roles for younger people that are coming up. Because time and time again, we're seeing younger artists getting taken advantage of, or just I'd say just being ignorant to the bigger machine besides things. And I think people like you who've been in the game for so long could help guide specifically our African American men in the right direction and making right moves.
I think because that point, if I can piggyback that, is because you have to get to a certain point, even as an executive, right? It can be real easy to fall into the love of taking advantage of people, right? Like, because you're on this side of the game, you're in control of the paperwork, and you're talking to these new artists that come in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, right? and it's easy to take advantage of that. But what happens is, me being an artist, so I'm artist friendly off already, and excuse me, I don't yearn for the money. So that's key in my life as far as like happiness. Like, we all want to live. We want to be able to buy things and be able to live and be comfortable. But my main priority is not chasing money, and it never has been. So I can go into the game and mentor a young guy or a young woman and help them out without thinking about, okay, how do I necessarily get paid every time? Because if you start to do that, that starts to lead. And if it starts to lead, what happens is you start finding yourself taking advantage. And then you'll convince yourself that this is how the game goes, because the game been going like that. But that's the problem. The game needs to change. So if you don't lead with the money, stop chasing the money, I think people will be more well off. And you're right. You need more artists to transition to become executives, so they know how to treat people, because they were just that. So I think you're right. They should do that.
I agree. So one of your most infamous verses that I know about, because I'm the millennial, right, is the song that you had with Problem. Like what? So I wanted to know, like, how did that come about? What was the story? How long you known him? How did it transpire?
Well, Prob, to put it in a nutshell, so I've been on Prob about almost 20 years.
Wow.
Prob, I met Prob at one of my good friends' studio, an independent label back in the day. And this friend invited like a bunch of rappers to the studio. And me and Prob, which kind of organically happened, we found ourselves in the corner, kind of just like not necessarily taking the session serious, just kind of joking off in the side of the corner. And I think from that moment, we just kind of like, he's a cool dude. Like, he's cool. We were vibing. It wasn't because it wasn't necessarily rap. It was just, we were having a good time. We found out how to have a good time in that serious environment. So we just been down ever since. And, after that was years of friendship, and then becoming a label mate for his independent label, him and my friend Bird, who's the CEO of Diamond Lane. And then we just working after that. What came into, we were, me and Prob especially always had a thing about, Prob's a producer. People got to realize that. Prob's a producer, an engineer. He's a rap artist. He's a songwriter. He's a singer. He's literally a guy you can leave in the studio and he'll come out with a full album done and ready. Like, ready to go, ready to be sold. He's one of the rare kind of guys who can do that on his own, right? So we had to think about flipping samples, but our thing was every sample has been done. So how do you flip samples? Because we appreciate samples and we appreciate these songs. How do you flip samples and not really use something that somebody else hasn't used? We're not DJs, so I'm not digging in the crates all day. So it was more so about, let's flip something from the 90s. Like a lot of people aren't digging the 90s. People are going old school, 70s, doing soul and funk and jazz and rock and things of that nature. But people are overlooking the 90s. And I'm talking at this time, nobody was really digging into 90s records and flipping 90s records.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Prob always knew, we always loved that song, How You Do That There, by Young Bleed. Shout out to Young Bleed. And one day after talking about it, Prob called me from the studio and saying, yo, look, I flipped that song. And he played some of it for me over the phone. And I don't know what I was doing that day, but whatever I was doing, I stopped and went straight to the studio. I went immediately. I told him, don't finish it. Don't touch it no more. I'm coming to the studio. That's it. Leave it alone. And I went straight to the studio. And then I jumped on a record, and then the rest was history after that.
Yeah, that thing took off. I remember.
It did.
It really took off. Being on the, it's so interesting, you know, growing up on the West Coast, we always have these moments with artists or whatever. And I feel like we get a lot of music before it hits the rest of like the US, whether it was YG, whether it was Kendrick. Like I was bumping Kendrick for years prior to swimming pools and all of that. I find it to be interesting that, I don't know, I feel like it's like our ecosystem that we have here with the industry. It's like it circles around. It's almost like we have to put our check mark on things, like before it pops up to everybody else. And I remember that song because I was hearing it. I was like, all right, this thing out of here. I was just like, when does it fit across? Oh, here we go. That's
for sure.
That's dope. So you talked about your transition, like to being an exec. So what do you feel like is next for you for the rest of the year? You're going to focus a lot on your new artists. Want to talk about, you know, anything you got going on in the community? What else?
Yeah. So first of all, many things. The way I live my life now I'm 40, right? Mm-hmm. So the way I live my life now is kind of like do whatever you want to do and do it now. Like, so I don't, and I don't mean, I never agree with the narrative of that saying like, I'll sleep when I'm dead. First of all, that's severely unhealthy. I hate when people say that. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the most ridiculous thing people say. I understand people want to grind and stuff like that, but that's not really a smart thing to do. And people actually think on a literal sense, so they probably shouldn't say that. Mm-hmm. But I try to do so many things that bring me joy, and I kind of spread the time around evenly. You know what I mean? It sounds like if I do that, I'm not giving one thing enough attention, but I'm happy. I think overall, that's what's most important. I'm happy. I got plans. I got things I want to do in my life, but my plans are more so like family things of what I want to do for my lady, my son, what I want to do for like in life, how I want to help people with, like when I get money, like I can't wait to give it away. I can't wait to, you know what I mean? When I get like certain types of money or big bags of money, I'm like, okay, I would do this with my money. I would help her. I would send her to school. Damn, he wants to go this football program, I would pay for it, or I would do these things. So I get off on those things. So how I live is kind of like I sit back, I tell myself what I want and what I'm going to do. I put it out in the air and I let it manifest. And I pretty much don't worry about it. I read one of the books that changed my life was Deepak Chopra's The 7 Spiritual Laws of Success.
Okay, I'll check it out.
If you haven't read it, it's an incredible book. It's a short read too, which is perfect because I wasn't never really heavy on book reading, but I'm getting to it now, and that book just blew me away. It changed my life, and it teaches you a lot about meditation and manifesting, and just kind of like laws on how to live like better and more at peace and more at ease. And so how I live my life is I pretty much put it out there and I just let it go. You know what I mean? I don't worry about it too much. Some people worry themselves sick about certain goals and certain things, but you tend to stress out so much and worry about those things, you kind of block your blessings in a way. Mm-hmm. If you just put it out there and let the universe do what it's supposed to do, and then do the whatever necessary work it is to do around that, it's going to all come to be, and nothing can deny you of that. Mm-hmm. So right now, currently, I got 2 podcasts I'm a host of. I have Overrated Truth podcast with some my co-host Mahoney, Badru, and Lays. That's on Apple and Spotify. That's on actually a lot of different platforms, actually. And I have another podcast I do called A Little Bit of Luck. Okay. That podcast is more so about like higher self, higher consciousness, how to manifest positivity, love, and spiritual kind of magic. You know what I mean? Which I strongly believe in, and about legacy, about what you want out of life. I'm writing a couple of film projects that I can't really speak on right now, but I'm writing a couple of film projects that I'm excited about. It's my first short film, both of them, my first short film I'm excited about. And I recently found a love for fitness and bike riding.
Okay.
And I've been doing that on a daily. I've been working out. Me and my lady been walking every day. I've been eating right, and I found a love in cycling. So I've been riding my bike like every day.
Wow.
And just, yeah, and it's crazy because doing those things like that, I get so many people that are finding inspiration in me, finding inspiration in that. So we're connected on different kind of levels that are way past rap or way outside of things I may have been known for so many years. So it's just a beautiful thing, man. I'm doing so many things, and shit, I'll probably be doing something new tomorrow. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's how I'm rocking. I'm just happy, and I'm just positive. I just want to love and spread love and give it all away. That's it.
It sounds like you need to write a book next. Just putting that out there in the atmosphere for you. It sounds like it sounds like that's what needs to happen next. You got your short films going. Of course, you got music stuff. You on health is wealth, mental health, spiritual health, physical health. It sounds like you need a book. I feel like
I've been thinking about that a lot also. And I've always pictured my life. I always picture myself as I'm the guy, the cup half full guy. My cup has always been half full. Even through like dark times or stressful times, I've always looked at life like my cup is half full. We'll be okay. We're going to be okay. Or it's going to be better. Or don't worry about it. You're going to be fine. Right. So I think I got a lot of living to do. Not like that's in the plans. I'm just saying I got a lot of living to do. You know what I mean? And I can see a book come out. I can see many books coming out of this. So it's definitely something I've thought about, and I'm just going forward, and we never know.
Okay, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever you do next. Shout out all your social media. Let people know where they can follow you.
Right now, my social media Instagram is badluck354, BADLUCC, the number 354. You can follow my A Little Bit of Luck podcast page. Luck is spelled with 2 C's at the end for my name and moniker. A Little Bit of Luck. I have a new biking page. I just literally started yesterday. My new bike club is called Bike the Power.
I like that. I like that.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm pretty excited, pretty dope about that. Follow Bike the Power, spelled correctly, no underscore, no thing like that. Bike the Power. And just look out for me, man. I got a lot of amazing things going on. If you see me out in these streets riding a bike, stop, say hello, hi, take a picture, let's have fun, let's kick it, let's ride together, and just continue being dope, continue being black, continue being strong, and just continue moving forward.
Great. Well, you heard it here. This is good luck, not bad luck.
Correct.
Good luck. Yeah, make sure you let me know who I should interview next on the channel. Follow him on all his social pages, and have a good day.